Hey everyone, it's Coach Hayo, and today I'm here with Coach Marian.
Yes, how are you, Coach Haya?
Good.
Yes.
So today we'll be learning reading skills for the IELTS exam, understanding the main ideas.
waxa weeyaan inaad fahantid muxuu ku saabsan yahay waa maxay main idea waa maxay fikradda ugu muhiimsan ee uu ku saabsan yahay paragraphka.
So you will be reading paragraphs and you will be distinguishing the main ideas from supporting ideas. Supporting ideas are smaller. Understanding the main points, the most important things in the paragraph, identifying information in the paragraphs in the reading package, matching headings. So those are like small titles. A heading is like a title for a paragraph. Doing some multiple choice questions and deciding if information is true, false, or not given.
Okay, so waxaa u baahan tahay wuxuu sheegayaa paragraphka waxyaabaha aad uga baahan tahay oo dhan marka imika hore waxaa ugu muhiimsanayd matching headings, that's the important part. So waxa weeyaan matching headings waxaa lagu siinayaa kelmado yaryar oo kooban ama waxaa lagu siinayaa sentence kooban marka sentenceka waxay ku jirtaa paragraphkan ayay ku saabsan kuma dhex jirto laakiin way ku saabsan tahay marka hadhow tale matching waad isku beegbeegaysaa sentencekan iyo paragraphkan way isku habboon yihiin.
So during the test, in the IELTS reading paper, you may be asked to match a list of headings with the correct paragraph or section of the passage. So which headings belong with which section of the passage or paragraph? The headings summarize the main idea of the paragraph or the section. And you might have multiple paragraphs, more than one, in a section or multiple sections in a reading. So the reading will be different lengths, basically. For test-taking tips, we have 5 here. Read the headings like this before you read the paragraph or the section, so you're familiar with them. You know what to look for. Skim read the whole passage to get the overall meaning. So that means go to the passage and read it quickly, understanding that you will read it again for detail.
Especially if you want to save time, you have to do skim reading. Skim reading waxaa laga wadaa maanta oo dhan kelmad ha u akhriyin waqtigu ka cararaya waqti baa lagaga baahan testiga markaa ka gaargaarsi hore u akhri sidaad u fahantid overall meaning yacni micnaha uu wato paragraphka micnaha halka micno keliya wato.
Then it is important to keep in mind, Coach Marian's right, that the test is timed, so you don't want to run out of time.
Yeah.
Number 3, read the first paragraph and decide which headings might fit it. So we have 4 paragraphs here. Read the first one and decide which of these might fit it. Reread the paragraph A in this example, and choose the best headings, or choose the best heading. So read it again and choose which one of these is the best. So for number 3, you might have a few. For number 4, you're picking only one. And then repeat steps 3 and 4 for the rest of the paragraphs, B, C, and D.
Yes, so waxaa u baahan tahay inaad akhrisid headingska yani sentencekan ku jira boxkana akhrisid sida sentence xabad kasta waxay ku beegan tahay paragraph marka maxay ta koobaad waxay u baahan tahay the first paragraph. Okay, so ta saddexaad waxay u baahan tahay dhowr xabad keliya uma baahan waxay u baahan tahay inaad dhowr xabo kasoo dhex dooratid headingska dhowr xabo ayaa ku habboon iyada marka kuweebaa ku habboon.
And now we're going to do that. So I'll read the paragraph and we'll figure out which of these makes sense. So the notion of planning entire communities prior to their construction is an ancient one. In fact, most of the earliest such cities on record is Miletus, Greece, which was built in the 4th century BC. Throughout the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, various planned communities both theoretical and actual, were conceived. Leonardo da Vinci designed several cities that were never constructed. Following the Great Fire of London in 1666, the architect Christopher Wren created a new master plan for the city, incorporating parkland and urban space. Several 18th century cities, including Washington, D.C., New York City, and St. Petersburg, Russia, were built according to comprehensive planning.
So paragraphka wuxuu ka hadlayaa sida loo qorsheeyo dhismaha maxay magaalooyinka marka talo muxuu ku saabsan headingeeba u sax ah marka waxa ku noqonaa halkii hore ku noqonaa sidee balkeeba ka sheekaynaya waxay ka hadlaya paragraphka.
So, let's look at these. The future of urban planning in America. We did not talk about the future.
Conflicting ideas through the history of urban planning. That's 2. Did we talk about that?
I don't think so.
Okay, number 2, conflicting ideas through the history of urban planning. Did we talk about that?
I didn't really see any conflict, especially not in A.
Yeah.
3, urban planning has a long and varied history. So, because we're reading things that might fit, number 3 talks about history, and down here we talk about the 4th century BC and modern cities. So history, that one might fit.
Yeah, number 4, financial problems helped spread an urban planning concept.
I didn't read anything about financial problems. Number 5, background to one particular planned community.
No. So waxaan akhriyna maxaan ka soo hadalnay paragraphka ku saabsanaa. So number 5, political change, abstract progress in urban planning. Did we talk about that? Did we talk about anything about politics?
No, nothing about politics.
Yeah.
And then an urban plan to reduce traffic. We did not mention traffic at all.
Yes, so maxaad malaynaysaa maxaa laga soo hadlay paragraphkii ugu horreeyay.
So the heading I would choose is 3. Urban planning has a long and varied history.
Yes, so waxaan ka hadalnay waxay noqotay jawaabtu waxay noqotay ta saddexaad. Waxaan ka hadalnay history iyo qorshaha magaalada.
So we did number 4 here. We picked the heading that summarized that paragraph, paragraph A. So now we'll move on to 1.1. And what do all of these have in common? So even though they didn't all fit paragraph A, what do they have in common? Urban planning. Urban planning. We have it here, urban planning. And then planned community that refers to urban planning. We have urban planning again, and an urban plan to reduce traffic. So all of these, even though they have to do with urban planning, we already know going into the rest of the questions that number 3 is the best for letter A, for paragraph A, because we followed these tips.
Yeah, so giddigood maxay haystaan maxay common maxay iskaga mid yihiin waxay iskaga mid yihiin urban planning kelmaddaas urban planning so laakiin giddigood kuma wada soo baxayaan yacni kuma habboona paragraphka koobaad paragraph A kuma habboona hal habboon baa ku habboon taasna waxay noqotay saddexaad.
So knowing this, what paragraph A is about, we have 1.3, because 1.2, the instructions are to read these. You can pause the video and read those now. But 1.3, so we have paragraph A. What is the best summary? Past, present, and future examples of urban planning, the history of urban planning, or problems associated with urban planning.
Okay, so qaybta waxa lagu weydiiyay qaybta hore waxa lagu wada akhri paragraphs ko dhan akhri marka waxa sameysan maadaama imika waxa isku diyaarinaa test ma isku diyaarinaa samaha marka waa in istaajisid akhris. Okay, so tan saddexaad marka waxa lagu weydiiyay paragraph A kuwan soo socda teebaa koobis soo koobisa yacni teebaa sheegaysa fikradda paragraph A tebaa ku habboon oo sheegaysa.
The first sentence is very close because we do have past, present, and future examples of urban planning. But I would say this is more an overall history of urban planning. And then, like we said before, we don't really talk about problems associated with urban planning. So because I used those test-taking tips, that means I can do this question much faster because I'm already prepared.
So marka waxa kamaynan hadlin A, kamaynan hadlin C, kamaynan hadlin wax problems ku xiriirsan urban planning, sidoo kale kamaynan hadlin past iyo present iyo future examples of urban planning. Waxaas oo dhan kamaynan hadlin. Waxaan ka hadalnay the history of urban planning.
And now, 1.4, we've done this already because we followed the test-taking tips from up here. We already know which is the best heading. So the first task was to decide which headings you can confidently say are not connected to the main idea, the main topic of paragraph A, and we did that. For example, the future of urban planning in America was not related. So we did that step already. We crossed off the ones that we didn't need. And now, what was left? Number 3. Look at your shortlist again, choose the heading that best summarizes the main idea of all of paragraph A. We did that already. It's heading number 3.
Yeah, so I think this is easy, very easy. Aad buu fududeeyay akhriskan.
And if you take it step by step and follow these tips make it twice as easy to do the test and do it well.
Yes, so are they going to give you these tips, the test day?
You won't see these on the test day. You have to remember these, and they kind of like expect you to know them. So that's why we have these preparation lessons to give you the tips so you can walk in and succeed on test day.
Yeah, so maalinta test day kuma siinayaan tipskan maxay ahayd talooyinkan muhiimka markaad ku celcelisid chapterro fara badan ku aragtid waad xasuusan doontaa maalinta testiga. Make sure in xasuusatid tipska markastoo tipska raacid uu kuu fududaan inaad ka shaqaysid imtixaanka.
And 1.5 and 1.6, you can answer those on your own. So now we will focus on understanding the main points. Another type of question that can focus on the main point of a paragraph is multiple choice. I know everyone has seen this in primary and secondary school. This type of question often requires you to carefully read more than one sentence in the paragraph. So you have to read it carefully.
Yeah, so qaybta waxa weeyaan qaybtii multiple choice-ka waxaa lagaga baahan yahay inaad akhridid sentence ka badan paragraph. Hal sentence xaggaad ka akhri lahayd kala soo dhex bixi lahayd wax isku dayda inaad ku celcelisid paragraph-ka adigoo waqtigana ilaalinaya.
Because there is a time limit, and that's good advice to watch your time.
Yeah.
In paragraph A, what is the main point the writer makes? Some urban designs are better in theory than in practice. They didn't really compare those two.
Yeah, the urban planning concept itself is not restricted to modern times.
Ooh, I like that one. But another test-taking strategy is make sure to read all of the answers. So we have C, urban planning should be carried out by professionals. Didn't really mention, it kind of mentioned experts, but it didn't use this word should, and it didn't really have any recommendations.
Yeah, it's not talking about the future. It hasn't talked about the future.
Yeah.
Some planned ancient cities are more successful than modern ones.
Yeah, so they mention ancient cities, so this might be tempting, but they didn't.
Oh, yes.
But they didn't really say like, oh, this one was successful, this one didn't work.
Yeah, they didn't compare cities.
Yeah, so B would be our answer. The urban planning concept is itself not restricted to modern times. So that means not restricted to modern times means it happened in the past. So there are some more multiple choice questions here based on this. So you can read those and check your own answers in the back of the book. So finally, we're moving on to the last part, identifying information in a passage. So now we're going to identify information in a passage. And I really like this tip. Remember that you're being tested on your ability to understand the information you read in the passage. So you should ignore anything you already know about the topic. So if you already know about heat islands, like this paragraph is talking about, you have to remember to focus on what is in the text.
Yeah, so waxa lagu sheegay halkan xasuusnaa maalinta testiga gelis waxa xasuusnaata uma baahnid imika mawduuca ku yaala meesha uma baahnid horta marka su'aal la weydiiyo odhan waa garanaya waxa isku dayda inaad waxba ka garanin topican marka hadhow waa inaad wada akhrisid sidii qof aan waxba hore u arkinba.
So you will have three options: true, false, or not given. So true, it agrees with the information in the text. False, the statement is incorrect and does not agree with the information in the text. So that is something contrary to, or the opposite of, what you find in the text. And then not given, you just don't know. It's not there, it does not say one way or the other.
Okay, so true, marka lagu siiyo su-aasha la weydiiyo waxa ku qoran kartaa hadday meesha ku jirto su-aashu hadday casharka meesha ku jiro buka ku jiro waxaa ku qortaa true. haddaanu ku jirin waxaad ama kuma jiro ama waxa ka soo horjeeda ayaa lagu soo dhigayaa meesha marka waxaa ku qori doontaa false. haddaana waxba ku jirinba wax ku saabsanba ku jirinba waxaa ku qori doontaa not given.
So first, I want you to pause the video and skim read the passage to get a general idea of content. So when I skim read this, I see, okay, we published a book. We're talking about temperatures, heat islands, different cities. We have specific examples. So it's about cities trapping heat. That's after I skim read it. So now we can read carefully. In 1818, Luke Howard published The Climate of London, in which he identified an emerging problem. Urban development was having a direct impact on the local weather. The early 1800s was a time of great expansion in London, and Howard noticed that temperatures in the city were gradually becoming higher than those in rural areas. We now refer to these areas as urban heat islands. The difference in temperature is usually greater at night, and the phenomenon occurs in both winter and summer. Experts agree that this is due to urban development. When open green spaces are replaced with asphalt roads and tall brick or concrete buildings, these materials retain heat generated by the sun and release it through the night. So basically, this is saying this guy Luke Howard realized that urban areas in the city, they're warmer than rural areas in the countryside because they're building a lot with concrete and asphalt.
Okay, so ninkan Luke Howard la yiraahdo wuxuu ogaaday inay magaalooyinku ay ka kulul yihiin miyiga. magaalooyinka inay magaalooyinka u dhexeeya ay ka kulul yihiin meelaha miyiga. waayo magaalada waxa laga dhisay magaalada waxa ku yaala dhismayaal.
In Atlanta, in the US, this has even led to thunderstorms occurring in the morning rather than, as is more common, in the afternoon. Officials there are advising builders to use light-colored roofs in a bid to reduce the problem. Large cities around the world are adopting strategies to combat this issue, and it is not uncommon to find plants growing on the roofs or down the walls of large buildings. In Singapore, the government has pledged to transform it into a city within a garden. And in 2006, they held an international competition calling for entries to develop a master plan to help bring this about. One outcome was the creation of 18 super trees. These metal constructions are made to resemble very tall green trees and range in height from 25 meters to 50 meters. Each one is a vertical freestanding garden and is home to exotic plants and ferns. Their structure allowed the designers to create an immediate rainforest canopy without having to wait for trees to reach such heights. They contain solar panels used to light trees at night and also contain containers to collect rainwater, making them truly self-sufficient. You can read this again, and you will have to answer the following questions. So now we'll answer 3.2. Decide if the statements are true, false, or not given according to the underlined parts of the text. So number 1, Luke Howard invented the term urban heat island. I don't know. Marian, did he invent that?
No.
No, it just says he noticed this effect, and then now we call them heat islands, but it doesn't say he decided that people would call it that. So that's false.
And number 2, city temperatures are higher than country temperatures regardless of the season.
Yeah, I'd say so. Regardless of the season just means whatever season it is, it's not important. City temperatures are higher than country temperatures. And we can see that in the text right here, the little number 2.
Yeah.
The difference in temperature is usually greater at night, and the phenomenon occurs in both winter and summer.
Yeah, so they talked about the seasons and also the city.
And the season wasn't important. The effect was the same throughout. So that's true.
Yeah.
Last one. Let's see. Experts have failed in their efforts to create heat-reflecting concrete and brick. They talk about concrete,
And the brick, but we haven't heard of experts.
yeah, and we haven't heard of experts talking about it and like even trying to develop heat-reflecting concrete. So careful. It mentions concrete and brick and asphalt up here, but it doesn't talk about experts or them trying to make these materials more heat-reflecting.
Yes, and also remember the tip. Try to always remember the tip.
Absolutely. Because this is actually a good example of something I know. My dad is in construction, and he knows all about the efforts to create like white roofs, reflecting concrete and materials.
Yeah.
So I knew that, but it didn't say it in the text.
Yes.
So I'm not bringing it in.
Yes. So ha isku dayin inaad adigu wax iskaga soo dardarto meesha horey kugu soo sheegay waxa kugu dhaadeen waxaad hore uga taqaanid topican maaha halkan waxaad ka akhrisid baa lagu weydiinaya. So the answer is?
So first one, false. Second one, true. We find it in the text. And third one doesn't really talk about it, so we'd say not given.
Yes.
You can try 3.3. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more true, false, or not given, and check your answers in the back of the book. You can also correct any of the false statements. And to guide you, there are answers in the back of the book. So that was chapter 3 in reading, understanding the main ideas. So that's it for reading skills. Chapter 3, understanding the main ideas. So just remember.
Yeah, remember the test tip and also try to pretend like this is the test day. Waxaad iska dhigtaa ina maanta ina imika ku jirto testiga waxba ha ka eegin buugga waxba ku cararin jawaabta laakiin waxaad ka fikirtaa imika maanta imika imtixaanka galaysa waaba kan imtixaankaagiiba marka saas oo kale uga fikir tipskana xasuuso waayo imtixaanka tips laguma siinayo.
So our next video will be chapter 4 in the reading section, locating and matching information. Until next time, good luck studying, and we'll see you then.